Okay, Dragon's Dogma 2 has certain weapons that are pretty simple to get, like the Owl Mace from Celeste's Smithy in Checkpoint Rest Town, or the Frosted Edges that you get after completing the Coral Snake's Bandit hideout. But the purpose of this video is to highlight some of the rarest weapons that are early mid-game, aren't in shops, or aren't obvious to find. Although they are some weapons that can outclass others, like the Owl Mace is a very great fighter sword with some crazy elemental power at 120%. Some great knockdown power because it's a fighter. But let's delve into some weapons that you have to actually find in certain areas that you would otherwise not be able to if you didn't know where they're at. What's going on, y'all? I'm Be Righteous from Identity, and I hope this video helps you out. Now I'm going to start out with one of my favorite weapons, and recently I made a thief build with these daggers. They're called the Dowsing spikes. Now you might be thinking, oh, they're just average, they don't have any elemental affinity to them. All they do is detect, hit, and loot, which is an okay stat, but that's not the case. The Dowsing spikes are exceptional dagger weapons, and I didn't know this until I started making my thief build, which I thought I was going to make with frosted edges, until I seen the knockdown power that the Dowsing spikes have. Daggers are not supposed to have that high of a knockdown power percentage. So when you upgrade them with dwarven style of smithing, then you get the knockdown power of basically a warrior or a fighter while using a thief. Now this is pretty significant because the thief attacks really fast, and most of the time when a thief attacks, they get interrupted by other enemies who don't flinch or stagger or get knocked down. You just benefit from the critical hits when using the thief. But if you can knock down enemies left and right using these Dowsing spikes, then you have something really powerful on your hands. So I suggest that you get these. And the way that you get them is by finding 25 secret tokens and turning them into the Vocations vendor. He'll give it to you right away. And in NG Plus, you can get these again and make them even stronger. Moving on. There are two weapons actually that you can find in one cave. One is for the warrior and the other one is for the fighter. The one for the warrior is called the Center Spine. It's a spiked hammer imbued with the power of flame. I love flame weapons and flame builds. It has pretty good damage, and the great part about this is the elemental percentage. It offers 150. Now, the higher percentage of element it has, the more you're going to affect them with that affinity. Now, of course, the warrior swings really slow, so I guess that's why it has 150%. Because if you look at, let's say, the Frosted Edges, they're great daggers. I love those things. They don't have as high of a knockdown power as the Dowsing spikes, but where it benefits is the element is frost. It's only 45%, but the fact that the thief attacks so fast in such a high succession of interval within its attacks, you're going to freeze foes left and right. So I think that's where they decide what percentage they want it to be. And by the way, you can find the Center Spine in the mountain base cave in this area right here. There's a chest up here. You just have to kind of explore the cave and you'll find it. But also in the mountain base cave is the Molten Fury, and this is a fighter weapon. It's a mace. It has significant knockdown power because maces have basically no slash strength as opposed to swords. They're used for knocking foes down mainly. And this has a pretty high elemental affinity as well. It's a mace infused with heat of volcanic eruption. And this is based on the sentiment and lore of you being near Volcano Island. It's forged within the volcano's fire. And the fighter doesn't attack as slow as a warrior, but he attacks slower than the thief, which is why it's 120% of elemental affinity. You can't purchase these in any shops and anywhere else, so I think these are pretty rare. You can find them in the mountain base cave. Now here's a double-edged sword that you can get for the Mystic Spear hand. It's called the Infernal Edge. You can find this in the Ancient Battlegrounds. Now the Ancient Battlegrounds is kind of like a nice loot cave where you can find several items. You can find this crazy shield, the Daughter of the Evening. It's one of my best shields for the fighter. You got to get it. The source of that is located within the Ancient Battlegrounds. Then you can find the Black Hammer is one that's not elementally imbued, but is a pretty dope hammer for the warrior. You got trolls there. And the way that you get the Infernal Edge, it's also a flame bearing weapon that doesn't have much of a high percentage. That's 50%, and that's also because you're attacking left and right with the Mystic Spear hand using a double-edged spear, so you're going to be lighting them on fire pretty much a lot. And you can get this by escorting Ascar in a Told to Rest mission to this area in the Ancient Battlegrounds where he has to perform some duty in order to reclaim his honor or whatever the case. Afterwards, he'll give you a key to unlock a door that you have to find down the hall. This door will have some money and the Infernal Spear. And 𝐜𝐴𝐬 can be found like on the other side of the ancient battlegrounds after fighting that Drake there or passing him by. Talk to him, he'll be getting attacked by some harpies and he'll ask you to escort him. Do it and you'll get the Infernal Edge in no time. Speaking of dual spear weapons, the Dead Ringer is an amazing dual spear. I think this falls on the radar of pretty rare because I got this when one of my pawns stole it off the diseased Drake that we killed in the mission when traveling to that ancient dragon temple in Batal. This doesn't have any elemental affinity to it, but the strength and knockdown power on this thing is insane. But I think that in general this weapon is just really strong and like best in slot when it comes to the dual spears that you can use. And the reason why this is rare is because it has like a 12% drop rate, and later on you can find it in certain shops, but that's in game only. That's actually what I've been using and kind of been using the Infernal Edge as a secondary. Here's another weapon, and this is a bow, specifically Medusa's bow. You can find her in a lair over here in Batal when venturing off into the beaten paths. I accidentally stumbled across this cave and I saw Medusa. I'm like, oh, I didn't know I was going to be able to fight her again in the game, but she actually gave me her bow after I killed her. But check this out, before you go and fight her, head into the cave before you aggro her or whatever, because there's going to be some headgear that you can put on. It's like something called the Nameless headgear, where it shields you from her gaze a little bit more than if you didn't have it. So using this would help you fight her a bit when she tries to gaze and turn you into stone. I didn't know this until after I killed her, but anyways, once you cut her head off, she'll give you her bow and her head, and depending on when you cut her head off, but that doesn't really matter to me because that's just temporary. And by the way, she can be farmed. You can try to do this multiple times, but her bow is pretty insane. You might want to do this before you upgrade the archer because it gives you some crazy XP, like I'm talking about double or triple, whatever. When you use this bow, it gives you insane SP. So you can give it to your pawns when you want them to upgrade in XP. And this is why I think it's rare, because no other bow does this, right? It's not part of the main story either. It weighs like 15 pounds. And the way to capitalize on making this better, because it's a great bow in general, it does great damage and it's just really cool looking. So the way that you make it so that it's not so heavy, you have to upgrade this with Worm's Life crystals, where you can find over here. There's a vendor that once you get near Volcano Island and you start doing more missions in that area, you'll unlock this vendor, which only takes Worm's Life crystals, which you get from killing drakes and dragons and whatnot. And you can only upgrade this after you've upgraded your weapon 3 times. So whatever your preference is, whether it be dwarven style of smithing, elven style, once you get to level 3, you can upgrade it to level 4 with Worm's Life crystals. This will increase your damage even more, and it will halve the weight of whatever weapon you upgraded. So instead of it being 15 pounds, it'll be half that, which makes it an actual viable solution to use when running around, because you know encumbrance is a crazy thing in this game. Anyways, of course, once you get to the unmoored world in NG+ and beat the game, these weapons might become obsolete. I mean, maybe not, because you can get them again in NG+ and they'll be equally strong, but there are some crazy weapons in the unmoored world, like the Heaven's Key dagger or Cage Fury Archstave, you know, like certain meta weapons that you just are going to use once you get to that level. But I just wanted to share with you the rarest weapons in the game for early and mid game, because honestly I spend a lot of time wandering around and exploring the beaten paths before I even get to the end. I like to do that. I'm kind of a completionist, so I think that knowing which weapons are where and which weapons I can utilize and give to my pawns or whatever is a great mentality to have if you want to have a fun time playing and exploring the game. So let me know what you think about this down below in the comment section. Tell me of any other rare weapons that you found, and any of them that have insane knockdown power or crazy stats that you wouldn't expect to be on a staff or a dagger. I really want to know what you think. Also, like the video if it helped you out in any way, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you're new here. I appreciate you stopping by. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.